39-year-old Stan Lee was staring at a wall in the corner of his Marvel office in 1962. A spider slowly climbed, and in that moment, an idea was born that would change the world. But nobody believed it. Martin Goodman slammed his fist on the desk. Spiders are disgusting. Kids don't like spiders. He hadn't even looked at the draft script in Stan's hand. He'd been working for this man for 20 years. 20 years of hearing no. This time would be different. It had to be. Because Stan Lee was burnt out, writing the same superheroes every month, repeating the same cliches, telling the same stories about perfect heroes. Copies of Superman, clones of Batman. Perfect muscle masses, flawless leaders. None of it was real. What if the hero was flawed? Stan whispered to his wife Joan that night. Joan was making coffee in the kitchen. She stopped. What do you mean? A hero who can't afford lunch. Behind on his rent. His aunt is sick, his grades are slipping, and he also has superpowers. Joan smiled. She'd seen that light in her husband's eyes. That light had been gone for years. Then write it. Martin will never approve it. Write it anyway. But Martin's rejection came hard. That night, Stan walked home through Times Square. In the store windows, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman magazines. All the same, all perfect, all fake. On the subway, a kid was sitting, wearing glasses, his acne-covered face buried in a book. The other kids ignored him. Stan saw that kid, and Peter Parker was born. But there was a problem. Martin Goodman's Amazing Fantasy magazine was tanking. It was the last issue, already getting canceled. Stan thought for a moment. What would happen to a magazine that was already dying? He returned to the office at midnight, sat at his typewriter, and started writing. Peter Parker was a loser. A normal high school student who went to science fairs, girls didn't notice, got bullied by Flash Thompson. He lived with Aunt May and Uncle Ben. They had no money, but he had brains. Stan's fingers hit the keys. Page after page, the story flowed. A radioactive spider bit Peter. Powers came. But what did Peter do? He didn't become a hero. He became a wrestler for money, went on TV, chased fame. Stan got to this point and stopped. His pen fell from his hand. With great power comes great responsibility. Where had the line come from? He didn't know, but it was true. Uncle Ben's death. The thief Peter ignored. That thief killing Uncle Ben, cause and effect. Being a hero wasn't a choice. It was a burden. He called Steve Ditko at 6 a.m. Steve, I found the work of my life. Stan, it's 6 in the morning. Spider-Man, climbs walls, shoots webs, but can't pay his bills. A teenager. Silence. Then Steve's voice came. I'll draw it. 2 weeks later, Amazing Fantasy number 15 was on the stands. August 1962. That morning, Stan was doing an interview with a reporter. The guy asked, "Why a spider?" Stan paused. He didn't know the answer. Then he remembered. That spider on the wall. How it climbed without falling. How it was invisible. How everyone found it disgusting. Just like Peter Parker. Because spiders are looked down on, Stan said. But they survive. The magazine sold out. The first week was gone. Second printing was made. That sold out too. Martin Goodman called Stan into his office. Stan thought he was getting fired again. It had happened hundreds of times in 20 years. Stan. He waited. Spider-Man will continue. Stan raised his head. What did you say? I want his own magazine, The Amazing Spider-Man. We're starting in January. When Stan walked out into the hallway, his legs were shaking. He went into the bathroom, looked in the mirror. He was 39 years old. He'd spent half his life in the comic book industry, and he'd never been this happy. But success brought other problems. In the first issue, Peter Parker struggled to pay rent. In the second issue, Aunt May got sick. In the third issue, he was close to failing school. Editors complained. "Heroes don't have problems, Stan." "Peter Parker isn't a hero," he shot back. "He's us." In the fall of 1963, a kid wrote a letter to Marvel. He was 12 years old. Stan read the letter. "Dear Mr. Lee, I'm like Peter too. I wear glasses too. I get bullied too. But Spider-Man taught me something. I don't need to be perfect to be strong. Thank you." Stan framed that letter, hung it on his office wall, and he understood. Spider-Man wasn't just a character. It was a mirror. But Martin was still skeptical. At a meeting in early 1964, he asked, "Stan, other heroes are forming teams. We should have a team too." Stan smiled. "We already do, Martin. Spider-Man, Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, all of them." "What's it called?" Stan paused for a moment, then answered, "Avengers." But nobody had asked the real question. Why wasn't Spider-Man on the Avengers? Because Peter Parker could never fit on a team. He wasn't rich. He wasn't a god. He wasn't an inventor. He was just a kid from Queens, shooting webs, paying bills, taking care of Aunt May. And that's exactly why he was the most powerful. In 1965, a reporter asked Stan, "What's the difference between Spider-Man and Superman?" Stan answered without thinking, "Superman looks down at the world from the sky. Spider-Man looks up from the sidewalk." The quote made it into every magazine. That day, Stan understood. He'd made it. He hadn't just created a character, he'd started a movement. Comics weren't just escape anymore. They were a mirror. Young people saw themselves in Peter. The bullying, the loneliness, the financial struggles. But they also saw hope. If Peter could do it, so could they. In 1966, Steve Ditko left Marvel. Stan sat alone in his office. Could Spider-Man exist without Steve? The drawings were Steve's. The costume was Steve's. Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, Sandman. All Steve's. But the story was Stan's. When Joan came home that night, Stan was sitting by the fireplace. "Steve's gone." "I know. Will Spider-Man end?" Joan put her hand on her husband's shoulder. "You created Spider-Man, Stan. Steve drew him, but the soul came from you. Peter Parker is you." Stan looked at her. "I don't have superpowers." "No, but you never gave up." The next day, Stan called John Romita. John came. He drew. Spider-Man continued, because characters were bigger than artists. In the 1970s, Spider-Man became huge. Newspaper strips, TV shows, toys. But Stan never forgot that first feeling. That spider climbing the wall in 1962. Small, defenseless, but determined. In an interview, a young reporter asked, "Mr. Lee, what were you thinking when you created Spider-Man?" Stan smiled. His eyes got misty. That anyone can be a hero. You don't need to be rich, powerful, godlike. You just need to make the right choice. The reporter took notes, then asked, "Is Uncle Ben's line true, do you think? Does great power bring great responsibility?" Stan looked out the window. Manhattan skyscrapers. Millions of people. Each one a story. "Every day," he said. "Every day that responsibility is there. People stop me on the streets. They say, 'My kid didn't drop out of school because of Spider-Man.' They say, 'My daughter stood up to bullies because of Spider-Man.'" He paused, then continued, "That responsibility is real. And every day I thank that spider on the wall. In 2018, Stan Lee died at 95 years old. Thousands of people were at his funeral. But the most striking thing was this. Most of them were wearing Spider-Man costumes. Young people, old people, kids, all in red and blue costumes, all wearing masks. But under the masks were real faces. Peter Parker's faces. A young person spoke at the ceremony. Stan Lee taught me something. You don't need to be born special to be a hero. You just need to make special choices. And in that moment, everyone understood. Stan Lee hadn't just created Spider-Man. He'd shown millions of people they could be their own heroes. The little spider he saw on a wall in 1962 had changed the world. Because Stan Lee looked at it and saw small things can create big changes. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things. And sometimes, the greatest heroes are the ones without masks. Stan Lee got up from his desk that last day, November 2018, Los Angeles. The sun was setting. He looked out his window, and he saw a spider on the wall. He smiled. "Still climbing," he whispered. The spider stopped, as if it heard. Then it climbed, reached the ceiling, and disappeared. Just like Peter Parker, just like Stan Lee. Invisible, but everywhere. With great power comes great responsibility. Uncle Ben. Excelsior, Stan Lee.